2025-26 Premier League fixtures have been released and there's a lot to debunk and talk about. Welcome back to Palace Mad Mason. How are we doing, guys? It's Mason here. Welcome back to the channel. So yes, the 25-26 Premier League fixtures have been announced for Crystal Palace, and on the whole, I like it, especially the first 5 Premier League games before the Europa League kicks in. I'm going to do this video a little bit differently than I did last season because obviously we'd never been in Europe before. Like last season, going to go through the first 5 games of the season, and then I'm going to go through the games that line up with the Europa League, and then at the end we'll talk about the 2 games against Brighton and the rest of the games against the newly promoted sides, because spoiler alert, we are playing one of the newly promoted sides in our first 5 games of the season. So kicking off the brand new season, for the 4th time in our last 5 seasons, we start the season away from home. And just like the first season on this channel, we are away against Chelsea on opening day. Yes, the Conference League champions, they're now in the Champions League. So, you know what? I quite like this one, to get it out the way early. We played them quite early on last season in early September when we were really bad, and it was our worst start to the season since 1992. And we still got a point at Stamford Bridge. Our actual official record against Chelsea is not the best. I don't think we've beaten Chelsea in the Premier League since 2017, I think. Yeah. Am I right there? I think so. Yeah, just checking up on that. Yeah, we did. We drew 1-1 last season in both games, in our home game and our away game as well. So we haven't beaten Chelsea in the Premier League since October 2017. So people will be going into that thinking, you know, we're not expecting a win there. But I think it's a good game to just get out the way early. Next game, Nottingham Forest at home. This is our first home game of the season on the 23rd of August. Now, given the circumstances, I think this is quite a good one to play at home first, because they are the team that tried to grass us up, that tried to get us kicked out of Europe. And that still hasn't been settled yet, but the talks have quietened down because realistically, we are going to get allowed into the Europa League. So that's all fine. But yeah, Nottingham Forest at home, they are in the Conference League. They'll be looking to get points on the board before their European football kicks in as well as ours. So I think that'll be a very, very competitive fixture. Another thing that sort of worries me about this game is that we have not beaten Nottingham Forest in the Premier League since their promotion back to the league in 2022. 6 games against Nottingham Forest, and I believe it is 3 draws and 3 defeats for us, or 4 draws and 2 defeats, something like that. Next game's a guaranteed win. Aston Villa away. Of course it is Aston Villa away. You played them 4 times last season and won 3 games, drew 1 game. The 1 game we drew was actually our Premier League away fixture at Villa Park, where we drew 2-2 in late November of 2024. So I think that this is, again, an all right game to get out the way. Again, they're going to want points on the board before their Europa League football kicks in. They're the Premier League side in the Europa League with us, because they finished 6th in the Premier League last season. So yeah, I think it's a very, very competitive start to the season. We're playing 3 different European sides in the first 3 games of the season. And this is where it starts to get a little bit more easier for us after the international break, where Crystal Palace will be at home to Sunderland. Yeah, Sunderland's back in the Premier League. It's their first time back in the Premier League since 2017. And the last time we played Sunderland in any competitive fixture, we were 4-0 down against them at half-time. Yes. My God, that was an awful game. I remember that really well. But I think there's not really many negatives going into this game. Yes, Sunderland are the team that got promoted through the playoffs, so technically they are the weakest side in the Premier League this season, and I think that might put a little bit of added pressure onto us to be able to get the result there. But I think that this is the first game where I'm like, right, we need to win. I think the first 5 games are vital before the Europa League kicks in, because after this we've also got West Ham away, who are also another side that aren't in Europe, and it's our last Premier League game before our first Europa League game of the season. So I think that is also vital. I think we need 6 points out of Sunderland at home and West Ham away. We need those 6 points massively, especially if we don't pick up points against Chelsea Nottingham Forest and Aston Villa. I think we need 2 wins from 5 at the very, very, very least. Because, yes, I don't think we're going to do as well in the Premier League this season. However, I don't want us to be in danger. So, there you go. Right, so for the next couple of minutes in this video, I'm going to be going very, very fast. We're going to talk about when the Europa League games will be and how that links up to our Premier League games. Because I think we are against it massively this season. So, kicking things off, Europa League match day 1 is either on Wednesday or Thursday. For some reason, it's on 2 different days here. Wednesday or Thursday, 24th or 25th of September is Europa League match day 1. Don't know who we're playing yet. The draw for the Europa League phase is not until the 29th of August or something like that. So just before we play Aston Villa at home on match day 3 of the Premier League is when we find out who we're playing in the Europa League. So who knows at this point. But the game on the Sunday after that, you couldn't put us against a worse side for us, Liverpool at home. The champions. You couldn't test us anymore if you tried, lads. This is where we get into the Thursday to Sunday territory now, because obviously the Europa League game 1 could be on the Wednesday. Not sure how that works, but there you go. It could be on the Wednesday. You never know. So the turnaround might not be as quick. But looking at the match day 2, it's on Thursday the 2nd of October. And this is when we play Everton away from home, where we haven't won at Goodison Park. Well, it's actually not Goodison Park anymore, is it? It's Everton's new ground. But we've not won away at Everton since September 2014. It's been over 10 years since we beat Everton at their place. And the fact that we're going to now be playing them 3 days after a Europa League game makes it even harder for us. And this is an Everton team that also are missing out on Europe, so they've not got anything in between. Do you know what I mean? So this could be a very, very tough game for us there. It really could. Europa League match day 3 is on Thursday the 23rd of October. And who have we got 3 days later on the Sunday? You ready? Arsenal. Fantastic. Away from home on Sunday 26th of October. The thing is, right, against these big teams is that, yes, people will say, yeah, but they've got Champions League and stuff like that. And obviously, they could be playing a pot 4 side. We could be playing a pot 1 side in the Europa League, etc., etc. They could be playing a good team. We could be playing a bad team. So, but the thing is with these bigger teams is that they are a lot more used to the fatigue that sets in for these Premier League games. This is why they're right up there, even though they're playing in Europe. We're not used to the fatigue. We may not have the squad depth to compete. We've only made 1 sign in this window, and that's not even been confirmed by the club. So, yes, we're not playing teams that have massive amounts of rest. We are playing teams that also are in the Champions League and stuff like that, which is sort of good, but they're also used to the fatigue settling in. That's what I'm trying to say. And Arsenal away and Liverpool at home on after match day 1 doesn't help that. Europa League match day 4 is on the 6th of October. Who do we play on the 9th? Brighton at home. Yes, that is our first game against Brighton and Hove Albion in the M23 derby in the Premier League, and it's 3 days after a Europa League game. This is another team, Brighton, that are not in Europe next season, so they will have the rest. So far we've got 2 Champions League sides and 2 non-European sides. Let's see how this keeps going. Thursday, 27th of November is match day 5, I believe. Match day 5, and that is when we are at home to Manchester United 3 days later, which will be on the 30th, of course. This is a team that are also not in Europe. They finished, 15th in the Premier League last season. They lost in the Europa League final to Tottenham. So they're not in Europe next season. So we've got now 3 non-European sides and 2 Champions League sides. We're back level again. Thursday, the 11th of December is match day 6 in the Europa League phase. Who do we play 3 days later on the 14th? Could also be a Monday night. Manchester City at home. Yes, the team that we beat in the FA Cup final. Oh, God. So that makes it 3 Champions League sides and 3 non-European games. This season's going to be crazy, boys. Match day 7 is after New Year on the 22nd of January. And on the 25th, we will be at home to Chelsea. Yes, so now that makes it 4 Champions League sides and 3 non-European. And match day 8 is a week later, 29th of January. And after that, we are away against Nottingham Forest, which is a team in the Conference League. So we've got 4 Champions League sides, I believe, if I've got that right. Yeah, 4 Champions League sides, 1 Conference League side, and 3 non-European sides. We're going to be under the cosh this season massively with fatigue. And I think this really adds on to why these first 5 games are so important and why we need to get these signings in early. We don't have a great record of starting seasons well, and this is where it could really, really ruin this season. So when is the reverse fixture against Brighton? Currently it is subject to change, but it is on the 7th of February 2026, and that will be just about after when the Europa League phase is done. So there could be a little bit of fatigue going into that one, but obviously time will tell because it is in bloody February and I'm talking in June. Like, we'll see. Let's try and add a little bit of positivity into this video though. When do we play the rest of the new promoted sides? When do we play Sunderland away? And when do we play Burnley home and away and Leeds home and away? On the 17th of January next year is when we play Sunderland away. Our away game against Burnley is on the 3rd of December, and our home game against them is on the 11th of February. And our away game against Leeds United is right before Christmas, 20th of December, and our home game against Leeds United is on the 14th of March, 2026. So that adds a little bit of positivity because they are, no game in the Premier League's easy, but these are, you know, the easier games. A little bit of positivity to add into this video is that I think the running is also quite not easier, but you know, a good set of fixtures. We've got Bournemouth away. Our penultimate home game of the season is against Everton, and then we've got Brentford away. That is our last away game of the season, is Brentford away, and our last game of the season is at home against Arsenal. Yeah, so we've got Arsenal at home on the final day, which I think could be a massive, massive game, depending if there are things depending on this game. So guys, that's the end of the video. Let me know your thoughts about the fixtures in the comments, and I will see you guys in the next one.